CMA. This is your 2024-2025 webmaster, Michaela Bichelle. And in our third installment in the interview series, we have Mrs. Napier, who is the Director of Admissions for Lincoln Memorial University Vet School, College of Veterinary Medicine, where our 2025 symposium is being held. So if you're joining us in the spring, maybe you'll see her around the campus, or if not, you'll be able to hear her speak just now. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Holly Napier, and I'm the Director of Admissions for LMU's College of Veterinary Medicine. I'm excited to be with you this evening. Just a little bit about myself. I'm from this area. Campus actually borders my backyard, which is kind of funny. I've been in higher education on the recruitment standpoint for about 19 years now. Love what I do. Love getting to tell people about LMU and the CBM and all of our programs. So I appreciate you having me this evening.
Of course. So let's start by giving sort of a rundown of Lincoln Memorial University. What are the basics, for those that don't
Sure.
really know much about it?
So our program is a little bit different than traditional veterinary colleges. Our first class graduated in 2018. We opened in 2014, fully accredited by the COE. All that's good to go. But our program's different because it has a hybrid distributive model. And what that means is we don't have a teaching hospital by design. When they developed our program, we wanted it to be as much hands-on activities, hands-on learning as possible right from the get-go. So the way that we're designed, you come to us for your first 3 years, and like I said, you're hands-on right from the get-go, working with large animals, small animals, a little bit of everything. Your fourth year, then, right before that starts, you sit down with our clinical rotations team. And you basically design that fourth year to be what you want to be with different rotations. And what's so cool about it is you can do regional rotations. You can bounce back and forth across the country. We've had students do rotations in Ireland, at the CDC in Atlanta, with sled dogs in Alaska. So you design that fourth year. The goal of our program overall, and just a quick phrase, is that when you graduate from it, you're not only going to be competent in the skills that you have as a vet, you're going to be confident that you can do them well because of all that hands-on experience right from the get-go.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of my personal favorite parts about the program. And I've heard a lot of people ask questions about that. Would you call it a distributive model for that fourth year?
Hybrid distributive is how we refer to it because you are with us those first 3 years, and that's at our Tennessee campus, and then about 20 minutes away at our Ewing, Virginia campus. We're right here together in the tri-state area. But yes, I'm somebody that when I'm learning something, you can show me 10 times, but until you let me get my hands actually in there to do the work, it doesn't solidify in my mind. And so that's part of why our program is so successful.
Of course. And do you have a general number about how many clinics that y'all partner with, if I can phrase it as that?
Oh, gracious. The last I heard, I think there was over 500. Hopefully I'm remembering that correctly. They're all over the country though. And for students that are coming in, like if you're coming from Auburn and you had a clinic there that you wanted us to work with and do a rotation with, you can work with Dr. Moses and his team to get that added. No problem at all. And what's really, really cool about that as well is with each one of those rotations, it's almost like a job interview at that clinic or hospital or wherever you are. So it's super common for our students to have multiple job offers on the table by the time they graduate. Lots of times their starting salaries are a bit higher than the average just because these clinics and hospitals and vets have seen our students in action and know what they're capable of. They're not going to have to hold their hand that entire first year, and they're willing to pay them a bit more because they're ready to work right from day one.
Right. Would you say that, um, you know, what are the advantages other than the job opportunities of having that distributive fourth year as opposed to a teaching hospital? I know Lincoln Memorial doesn't have one, but what would you say the advantages, disadvantages are of that?
I think the advantages of our program are, like I said, that hands-on experience that you're getting. You're not watching procedures be done from a row or two from back. You're doing them. In your third year with us, you're doing surgeries. You're doing the anesthesia. You're doing the spays, the neuters. You're working with all types of animals in our program, large animals, small animal. We want you to have exposure to all of those different things. And that even comes down to equipment. We obviously, as a new program, we're state of the art in all of our facilities, but we even have older machinery as well so that if you do graduate and go practice at a little country practice that doesn't have the latest and, most tech savvy equipment, you're still prepared and ready to go. And I meant to say earlier too, with our program, we're the only school in the country that's been approved by the COE to take both a January class and an August class. We're the only school in the country that's been to do that.
So can I ask what goes into that accreditation? Why don't other schools have that? Is it a
You know, I
thing?
don't know. This I think will be our second or third January cohort coming in. The reason that we applied to do that and want to do that is because there's such a shortage of veterinarians. The demand is very high. They're so needed across the board, large animal, small animal, what have you. And so we applied to do that. We have the animals, we have the facilities to do it. And clearly the COE saw that that was, something good that we could do to help meet that demand. Other schools, I think Ross takes 3 cohorts per year. St. George, I'm not sure about, but as far as the U.S. goes, we're the only one that does 2. And I typically get right around 2,300 applications.
Is that per cycle, both classes combined?
It's per cycle, 2,300 applications approximate. I take 100 in January and then 125 in August. And I typically interview 600 to 650, something like that.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, why is that fall cohort a little bit bigger? What is the difference there?
So many students with the January cohort are finishing up that last semester. So they're graduating in May and they don't want to start in January. So that's why we've made it a little bit larger. But with both of them, they're 4-year programs. They roll smoothly with curriculum. So far, it's worked really well for us.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So could you tell us a little bit more about the admissions process as a whole? What does that look like?
So the admissions process as a whole can be a little bit daunting if I'm being completely honest. There's the VMCAS, which is the Central Application System. The AAVMC oversees that. It's very detailed. It has deadlines, opening dates, closing dates, and none of the vet schools control that. That's specifically overseen by the AAVMC, and they do not play on those deadlines. If you miss it, you miss it. But that VMCAS application is very comprehensive. It's very in-depth as far as experiences, GPAs, letters of recommendation. There's so much that's involved with it. I always encourage applicants to get ahead of the ball on that, to start early, to try to submit it early, to take your time doing it. That's where you list all of your experience hours, your shadowing hours, all that. You don't want to cheat yourself out of anything in that area, in that realm. So you really want to take your time, fill all that in, and we're holistic in our admissions approach. So what that basically means, GPA is important. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. It is important, but we realize that you all are so much more than your GPA. So we're looking at your experience. Our admissions committee and the dean are adamant at making sure that when students come into our program, they know what they're getting into. So the more experience you have under your belt, the more that you've been in the trenches, the more that you've seen and done, having people skills and animal skills, all of those things we look at. And then we also look at the interview. We do multi-mini interviews. We do those via Zoom, so you don't have to travel here. That works really well for us. It's smooth. We try to make it not a whole lot different than this, just a conversation. We want applicants to like us as much as we like them.
Right. And that kind of leads me to my next question. This is kind of a two-part question. What are you looking for when you look at that VMCAS paper application? Is it hours? Is it quality? Is it both? And when you get to the interviews, what are you looking to see and what kind of differentiates the two? How do you compare those and combine it into one profile for a person?
With hours, I would say it's quality, not quantity. We don't have a minimum number on those, but we want to see, like I said, that you've actually been in the trenches and done what you can do to shadow, to see what being a vet's all about. Dr. Pole is wonderful, but we all know that that's not your typical day in the life of a vet. I typically will try to encourage candidates to get large and small animal experience if possible. We understand, though, that a student that's applying from New York City probably has trouble working with cattle or horses. We take all that into consideration. As far as the interview goes, we're really looking at communication skills then, the ability to chat, to hold a conversation. We're looking at depth of knowledge about the profession, different things like that that really bring you off the paper as a person. All those factors play a role in our admissions process.
So, on that note, when somebody comes into LMU's vet school, do you see certain qualities kind of excel in certain individuals compared to what you might see at another school? What I'm asking is are there any traits that you see from valuing a more holistic review process than something that's just GPA?
I would say with that, that's difficult for me to compare to other vet schools, but I would say that something that we see in our students is that they have a lot of grit and determination. And that's a big deal because vet school, it's not easy. It's difficult. It's challenging. It's a heavy course load. It's a lot of work and a lot of studying. But we see so much grit and determination in students coming into the program. Our average student coming in has around a 3.3 to a 3.4 GPA, just to kind of give you like specs on that. But they're not gunners that are at the top of their class, but they're not at the bottom either. They're students that are coming into the program and they're ready to work hard to make, it sounds cliche, but to make their dreams come true. And we really, LMU's very much, I always say it's down home. We love our students. We know our students. That's a big, big deal. You're not seat number 57. We know who you are. We know your dog's names. We know your mom and daddy. That's a big deal. And it sounds trite. That sounds like it might not matter. But when vet school is hard and rough, it's comforting to have that foundational support system. And that's in place right from the get-go with us.
I love that. I think that's something that I like about any vet school is that it is generally a smaller class size and you're really able to connect with your classmates, your professors, etc. And I know from touring LMU that that definitely gives that small town family feel. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite parts about it. I love the landscape in the area, growing up somewhere that's basically the desert, going to, the Appalachian region. It was one of the first times that I've ever seen that, and I thought it was gorgeous, and I think it's a beautiful place to study. So,
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
it's not for everybody, but I definitely think that I can't imagine not being able to study outside or see and go touch some grass after a long day in class. Um,
Yeah.
so just to go back a little bit to the basics,
Sure.
what does the town that LMU is in, both Harrogate and Ewing, look like from kind of when you're living there? I've visited. A lot of people don't know where it is. I know trying to get people to register for Symposium, they have no idea where these two places are. What does the general landscape look like as far as kind of everything? Is it the
We're
small town feel or?
very much small town feel. We're an hour north of Knoxville, Tennessee, about 2 hours south of Lexington. It's a small town feel. LMU was founded in 1897. And so the town of Harrogate and even up into Ewing has built really around the school. So when August rolls around and that fall semester is starting, you'll see the local banks, welcome back LMU students. You'll see on the church bulletin boards, welcome LMU students. It's very much a small town, but I have to say, LMU's grown so much. I've lived here my entire life. And since I was a little girl, I had piano recitals on campus. My mama and papa are buried in a cemetery on campus. But the school has grown tremendously and it's greatly impacted this area. We have a Chick-fil-A, which is amazing. The closest one from here is Knoxville. We have that. We have a couple of Starbucks, which is also amazing. But it's that small town feel. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody speaks. Everybody waves. Everybody says hi. But there are still lots of condos, apartments, houses for rent. It's a very welcoming community. Cost of living here is very feasible, not expensive at all. And on the weekends, when you don't have a test on Monday, like I said, Knoxville's an hour away and it's really a fun little town. It's got that small town feel, but it's much bigger as far as an environment goes. And the same for Lexington. It's just a couple of hours away and it's a lot of fun up there too.
And as somebody coming from a small town, that was very comforting to me. Do you have any advice for somebody that's not coming from a small town and feels very out of place? Whether they're coming from New York City or even if it's just Birmingham, Alabama, what advice would you give them?
Just roll with it. Just roll with it would be mine. The small town is beneficial because partially you don't have a whole lot of distractions. There's not something that is super cool down the street, to go and do. That tends to be very calming and comforting to our students. Lots of them love to hike, things like that in the mountains. It's a beautiful area. I'm biased, I know, because I'm from here, but it's really a beautiful area. And like I said, the community is so welcoming. For those who have not been to this small town feel, give it a little time. You'll adjust and you'll love it. And everybody will speak and you'll pick up the accent and we'll just go from there.
That's exactly what I kind of try to tell people when I explain where I'm from. And they're like, oh, what do you eat there? As if it's a third world country. I think it's very interesting to see people's views, but it's also a little bit disappointing to see people put it out of the way and out of their mind because they think that they won't fit in somewhere, or they
Yes.
think that, it's just not for them, or somebody's going to know or judge you for being from the city. That's not really how it works.
Well, and I always encouraged, for students that are considering LMU, come and visit us.
Mhm.
You will see then exactly what I'm talking about with the atmosphere, with the town, with the community. That will give you a really, really good opportunity to see if LMU is the school for you.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Good.
Just visiting there, I just loved it.
Good. I'm so glad. That school's very competitive. We talked about the application numbers, the interviews, the students that we take. If students don't get in on their first try to vet school, I always tell them not to be discouraged. That's very common. That's not something that's unusual at all. We have a master's program that's bridged with the vet school, and it's a Master of Science in Veterinary Biomedical Sciences. Great, great program, very unique. I don't know of any other programs that are like it. I helped to build it when it started up here at LMU, and I had 3 students in my first cohort. Now we have about 35-ish, hopefully. But the way that it works, you do vet anatomy and parasitology at that professional level while in a graduate degree program. So it gives students the opportunity to meet faculty, to build relationships with their classmates, to really show what they're capable of in those professional level courses. So for an applicant that doesn't get in that first time or even a second time, that's just a little bit short, whether it's on GPA, hours, what have you, it's a fantastic program that really gives an opportunity to show what you're made of, to show that grit, determination, ability. It's an awesome program and it's linked on our website.
Of course, and so I do, correct me if I'm wrong, but those anatomy parasitology courses you're taking with other first year vet students?
You're completely immersed with other vet students in the lecture, in the lab, with the faculty, with the TAs. Yes, you're completely immersed with them. And that's where you're having that opportunity to shine because vet anatomy is 5 credits. I believe parasitology is 3, if I'm not mistaken. But, if that GPA was a little bit low, if you did have, a few short on the hours or what have you, it really gives you a chance to come in with a fresh slate at the graduate level and show what you're made of.
Yeah, and so going back to the basics a little bit, how many credit hours a semester is the master's program, and how many credit hours a semester around is the vet program? I know it varies semester to semester, but on average.
It does vary. So with the master's program, when I had it, it was usually 15 to 16 for 2 semesters. It's a 30 credit program, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of times mine would have 16 in the fall, 14 in the spring. So it's a heavy load and it's very heavily based in the sciences. You're doing advanced genetics, you're doing advanced biochemistry. It's a challenging and rigorous program. With vet school, it's upped a little bit. You're doing 20-ish credits per semester to 24. It varies from semester to semester. Professional school, though, is like trying to drink from a fire hydrant. That's how I've always heard it explained. It's a lot of information coming at you. And it's difficult, but part of the battle is learning time management, study strategies, finding a group to study with that matches your assessment for how you like to study. All those things play a role in your success.
Right, and I know that some of those credits transfer over to that school at LMU. Is this correct?
The vet anatomy and the parasitology do. If you're
Of course.
accepted, if you finish your first semester with a 3.0 GPA in that program, you're guaranteed your interview. And then if you get an A or a B on those courses, they transfer over to our curriculum and you don't have to retake those. So your first year's course load is a little bit lightened because you've already got those classes knocked out.
Right. And I love that. So you said it guarantees you an interview. Obviously, it does not guarantee you admission. Do you have a rough percentage of how many people that go into that master's program that do end up getting accepted at LMU, whether it's the first try or second try, et cetera?
It's pretty high. It's pretty high. I know that when I had it, I had one year where it was in the 90th percentile that were accepted. And I had students turn me down because that program makes you competitive, not just at LMU, but across the board. So I had students get into the University of Tennessee, Iowa, Virginia, Maryland. So whether you want to go to LMU or not, it makes you competitive with all of the vet programs. Most of those students, though, kind of fall in love a little bit with the school and with the area and want to stay with us, which makes me happy.
Of course. And another thing that I noticed when I visited with the officer team was the use of models.
Yes.
I don't think that y'all publicize it very much, but kind of the way that y'all can make them in-house and the students are involved in that process. Do you have anything to kind of talk about on that point?
So much fun. So Robert, I refer to his office lab as like his mad scientist laboratory. And they all work to build models that give you that real life simulation of what you're going to be doing. And it's everything from sutures to tactile skills using your hands. It's awesome. And that's what's so fun when students come for a tour, to take them in there and let them see all that Robert's coming up with. And he develops things every year, more and more things. Students help build those over the summer months. It's really, really cool. And we even have the big life-size horse and cow models that you work with, that you're learning how to feel with. I know with the horses they have where it like actually has the foal and you learn how to do that to pull the babies out. I'm not a vet, but we have all of those things that help our students learn and be successful.
Right. I thought that was a very, like I said, you don't really publicize it. And I thought that was one of the coolest parts. I walked into, I don't remember the building's name, but I walked in and I thought there was a Hereford cow sitting in front of me and it was a model.
I know.
The prolapsed uteruses, I mean, they were all so in depth. They're much better than
Yeah.
a lot of the stuffed animals that people think of when you hear models or when
Yeah.
I've seen models in the past. They're so insane. And it's the most ingenious ideas saying, I can't remember what it was, but I'm imagining there was like gel molds of something
Yes.
and using little tubes and I don't remember what the liquid was, but it makes it so realistic, like veins and blood and the real feel of
Uh-huh.
it. I was so
Yep.
shocked.
Well, and they have eyeballs that they work on and do things with in the classes. All that hands-on experience makes such a difference in your overall veterinary school curriculum.
Of course, and I guess my last question on the models is a lot of people that I've talked to about LMU are a little bit concerned with the no teaching hospital aspect of it, and they're worried about not being able to get the same educational experience on a model versus a live animal. Do you have any kind of thoughts on that?
We have live animals too. We have cattle, we have horses, we work with adjacent farms here in the area as well. The thing that I would say to that is as you see other vet schools coming online, ones that are being developed now that are newer out west and up in the northeast, a lot of them are following our model. And to me, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It's working well. Our students are having so many job offers, good salaries. To me, that speaks volumes. And I always encourage applicants to the program to reach out to our student ambassadors, our alumni. They will give you, I'm confident, glowing reviews about the program and what they've learned and what they've been able to take away from it.
Of course, and I guess to kind of round off the main talk about LMU and get into our symposium, do you have any other comments and fun facts or, tell us what your favorite part about LMU is? Anything?
My favorite part about LMU, I did my undergraduate and my graduate degrees here. Um, my favorite part of LMU is the people. We have, like I said earlier, state-of-the-art facilities, any kind of equipment you want to learn with. We have all that. New buildings, we have historic buildings, we have a little bit of everything. But the very best part of LMU is the people, students, faculty, staff, everybody. It's very much its own little melting pot, its own little community. It's very open door down home. That to me is something that you can't buy with money. You can buy equipment, you can buy bricks and mortar, but you can't buy a culture. And that's what we have here. And I think it really, really makes a big difference with our students.
That's a really beautiful way of putting it. I love that.
Thanks.
So just to give a little recap of our symposium information with LMU. Hey future vets, ready to crush your pre-vet goals? Inspira Advantage has your back with top-notch tools, expert tips, and personalized support to make your vet school dreams a reality. From stellar applications to interview preparation, they have everything you need to shine. Let's get you one step closer to that white coat by visiting inspiraadvantage.com or watching our webinar with them under the Webinars and Interviews tab on the apvma.org website.
Yes.
As Mrs. Napier mentioned in the beginning of this, we will be kind of in between those Ewing, Virginia and Harrogate, Tennessee campuses, but mostly at the Virginia campus is where our labs and lectures will be held.
Yes.
The date on that is March 14th to 15th. Registration is open between now and January 25th. Early bird pricing is $140 until December 2nd, and regular pricing goes from December 2nd to January 25th. The hotel is at Hilton Knoxville Airport, and we cannot wait to see y'all there.
I'm excited. I'm excited. We're really looking forward to it. We had a meeting about it earlier today, prepping and making sure we've got all of our ducks in a row. It's going to be a really, really fun event, though.
I agree. I've been to two, and like I said, the executive board and I got to go talk with some of the people that are planning symposium at LMU, and I thought they had so many good ideas. It's going to be so fun, and I hope everyone can join us this year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. This has been Michaela Buchel and Mrs. Holly Napier, and we can't wait to see you.
Thanks, y'all.